Hey, if you're looking to create a set of financial projections for an urgent care veterinary clinic, maybe for potential investors or lenders, then you've come to the right place. We have built a financial projection spreadsheet template built specifically for this veterinary clinic urgent care type of business model. I'm going to walk you through how to fill the template out and what you get with the template and how it'll be a good fit for presenting to potential investors or lenders. Before I dive too far into the details of the template, just a couple of housekeeping things. You can get access to this template by going to the description of the video below, and you'll find a link to this particular template. So you'll be able to grab that. Also, if you stick around to the end of the video, as a thank you for sticking around and learning about the video, you will be able to get a discount code as well. So I'll share a discount code with you at the end as a thank you for sticking around. And then lastly, just a little bit of background on me. My name's Adam Huxama. I'm the co-founder of ProjectionHub, and we help founders and business owners create financial projections for potential investors and lenders. And I really got inspired to do this because I used to work as an SBA lender, a small business administration lender, for about a decade. And during that time, a lot of our clients had trouble with their financial projections. And so I wanted to create a way to help those clients get their numbers in order for potential lenders or investors. And so that brings us to today, where we have a library of over 100 different financial projection templates for all sorts of different industries and business types. And today we're specifically focused on this urgent care vet clinic template. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so when you finish the process, you're going to come to this at a glance tab, which will show you a bunch of different graphs and charts and key ratios, some summary data, use of startup funds. You'll also get a 5-year income statement summary, a 5-year cash flow summary, a 5-year balance sheet summary, and then the income statement, cash flow, and balance sheet all broken down by month for each of the 5 years. So you get the annual detail along with the monthly level detail as well. But in order to produce these reports, we have a little bit of work to do. So let's take a look at our input assumptions tab here. So the first thing you need to know is that every cell that's highlighted in blue is an assumption that you can change without breaking anything in the model. And so we're going to start our projections on January 1st, and we're going to assume an opening cash balance of 0. We're assuming this is a brand new startup. And so we're going to invest $80,000 into the business to help it get started. And we're going to do that in month 1. So this is assuming that, again, we're just starting off. So this investment and the loan that we're going to get and the other startup costs are all going to happen in month 1, kind of at the beginning of the model. And then we'll project our operations from there. A couple other assumptions to make note of here. The accounts payable. So this means that we're going to pay 80% of our expenses in the month that the expense is incurred, and 20% of our bills will pay within 30 days. And so this could be some vendors that give you some terms where you can purchase, they'll invoice you and you have 30 days to pay. Or for example, maybe a utility company that bills you for your utilities and then you have 30 days to pay. On the accounts receivable side, we're going to assume that it takes 30 days to collect on average, and you can change this. So this is probably an assumption that you really want to change based on your specific business model and kind of the services that you're providing and to what customers. So if you have customers, maybe businesses that, let's say you go provide urgent care services at a horse stable, and you've got a long-lasting relationship with the stable owner, and you know that you can provide the service, you can invoice them, and they'll pay you in the future, right? That might be a situation where it might take 30 days to collect. If on the other hand, your model is more like somebody brings their pet in to have an emergency procedure or something, you're probably going to collect payment right then, with cash or credit card. So depending on your model, the amount of time it takes you to get paid is going to probably be different. We're also going to assume that you have a bit of initial inventory at the clinic. So $5,000 worth of initial inventory, just medical supplies and different, inventory supplies that you might need. And that you'll continue to carry some inventory on hand. So we just put a small percentage, 10% of your total sales that will kind of hold on inventory on your balance sheet. Now we're going to assume that you are renting a space and that you need to make some improvements or some renovations to the space. So we've got a $100,000 budget here for making leasehold improvements or renovations to your space. And what you'll want to put in for the life expectancy for your fixed assets is essentially how long you think the asset is going to last. So if you think, you can make renovations and you won't need to make any additional renovations for 15 years, Okay, there you go. You could put 15 years as the life expectancy. We put month one for the purchase month for all of these fixed assets. So again, you're going to have the investment come in month one, and then kind of these startup expenses go out immediately in month one as well. And then you'll have your startup loan. So we've got a loan here for $350,000 in month one, 8% interest rate, 120-month term or a 10-year term. And then you'll come down to this green table, and we're going to need to come back to this after we enter in the rest of our assumptions. But the main takeaway here is that this is trying to estimate how much cash you need to reach a break-even point where you're cash flow positive. And so this is estimating that it's going to take 2 months for you to reach a cash flow positive point in your business. And so it thinks you need $31,000. The model projects that you need $31,000 to cover your expenses during those first couple months. So that's your working capital need. You also need $175,000 for these fixed assets. And then it wants you to have a $30,000 buffer for unforeseen circumstances. So that total cash needed ends up being $236,000. But we have $80,000 in investments plus $350,000 in a loan. So we have plenty of cash based on this scenario. And so the model says starting cash is sufficient. Now, once we make a bunch of changes to the model, we are going to get to a point where we need to come back here and check to see if cash is still sufficient or if we need to raise additional capital in some way. All right, so let's look at our input revenue tab. So here, we're going to assume an advertising budget of $3,000 a month, and then the cost to acquire a new patient visit is $30. And, the assumption here is that people are probably going to be, Googling like urgent vet clinic when they have an urgent need, right? And so if you do some Google advertising, you're going to show up, and if you're nearby and open, that's probably how you're going to get a good chunk of your customers. You're also going to get customers from organic sources, so word of mouth or just organic Google searches. So we have assumptions here based around just the word of mouth visitors as well. So then based on those assumptions, you're going to have some number of patient visits per month, and you can see that assumption here. Now, once we have projected how many patient visits we're going to have, we need to know what are the patients, what are the animals coming for, right? What are the owners of the animals bringing them in for? Well, it could be, is it an illness visit? Is it an injury? Do they need any lab services, any vaccinations, any surgery? And so we have different fees for those different services. We have material costs here, any material cost associated with providing the service, or any supplies or medicine that might be needed for the surgery or so on, right? And then this is the average number of times per patient visit that these different services will be utilized. So essentially the way you can think about this is if I put in 0.5 for an illness visit, that's assuming that 50% of these 350 patients, 50% of them will be for an illness visit. 10% will be for an injury visit with an x-ray. And now this can actually add up to over 100% because it could be that somebody, that a patient comes in and for an illness visit and also needs some lab services done as well, right? All right, so then we need to say, okay, what's the average percent of the fee that's going to be reimbursed? So if there is insurance involved, you may not collect the whole amount, or if you just have trouble collecting from some customers that you invoice, there may be some less than 100% that you actually collect. All right, based on that, we can then jump over to our operating expense tab. And you can enter in your different operating expenses as either a fixed dollar amount or as a percentage of revenue. And so we've got a drop down here where you can select fixed or percentage of revenue. Insurance might be a good example of an expense that should be a percentage of revenue. And we can enter that percentage in as 0.025, represents 2.5%, for example. We can also see our salaried positions that we need to add on the salaries and dividends tab. So let's say we're starting with one veterinarian with a minimum annual salary of $50,000, starting in month 1 and then ending in month 24. And then in month 25, we're going to hire the second veterinarian. So in month 25, the first veterinarian is going to get a raise, bumped up to $100,000 minimum salary. And the second veterinarian will also start at that point with a $100,000 minimum salary. And the reason this is important is because that minimum salary plays along with this variable compensation or this bonus structure. So during the first 2 years, there's only one veterinarian, and so they're responsible here for 100% of the revenue generated or the production of the clinic. And so what this is saying is that after they have met their minimum salary, so after they have generated enough sales to cover their minimum salary, then above any sales above and beyond that, they're going to get a 20% commission or variable compensation or bonus on those sales. Now, once you have 2 veterinarians on staff, you need to split that production between the 2 of them. And they're going to, again, once they meet their annual minimum salary here of $100,000, then they're going to get those bonuses on top of that. Now you can also add in vet techs here and general administrative staff. And you'll notice here that we kind of layer in when some of these staff start so they can grow. You can grow your staff and headcount as the business grows. So that is it on the input assumptions. And now this brings us back to where we started. So we can see kind of what our profit and loss at a glance looks like, some different key ratios here. And as I mentioned, we want to go back after you've made changes to the assumptions. You want to come back to this green table and just make sure that it still says starting cash is sufficient. If the table does not say starting cash is sufficient, it could be that you're not breaking even. It could be that you don't have enough cash to cover until you break even. So those are some assumptions that you'll want to take a look at. So if you have any questions along the way as you go through this, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at support@ProjectionHub.com. And again, as a thank you for sticking around to the end of the video, if you go down to the description of the video below on YouTube, you'll find a link to a form. You can fill out that form to get a discount emailed to you. There'll be a discount code. You can use that at checkout and get a discount as our thank you for sticking around to the end of the video here. And I think with that, just want to reiterate that if you have questions at all, want me to take a look at this before you send it to lenders or investors, happy to do that. Just reach out to us at support@ProjectionHub.com. Thanks.